Hey everybody, this is Cat Day with SPM Billiards Media, and I am here with Mark White and Mike Molina.
How are you guys?
Yeah, so welcome, Molina Mike. I am Mark White, a commentator with Predator, of course. And Molina Mike, well, a lot of people, I don't really know how to describe you, Mike. So that's why we wanted to get you on. First of all, who is Molina Mike? I mean, what's your real name? Have you got a real name or is that it?
It's an alias, is what it is. No, yeah, I got asked that question quite a bit, Mark, especially early on. It seems like every year it changes, as far as what I do. But on the name side of it, yeah, it's so growing up, uh, it used to be Mohawk Mike way back when, and after having so many girls, the hair's gone, so the Mohawk's gone, and it ended up transitioning to Molina Mike, which is a neighborhood I grew up in my whole life. And my real name is Mike Ortiz, second generation American, and my grandma and grandfather were immigrants from Mexico, and yeah, man, it's been a crazy ride. I never thought like in my wildest dreams I'd be here doing media stuff for pool and all kinds of other fun activities, but I'm living the dream, man. I love the sport like you guys, and yeah, I'm enjoying the ride.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because I can remember the first time we met, which was online. I was doing a podcast with Joey Ryan, of course, and then we thought it'd be a good idea to get you on. And you was, I mean, I'm no expert at this, but I've been doing it slightly longer than you have. And I remember the first time you couldn't even join a meeting, and now look at you, you're running your own podcasts, and you've got, tell us a little bit about how you see your role in the industry. You've grown so quickly.
Well, I like how it started because it kind of started accidentally, to be honest with you, because a lot of people don't know, but you and Joey were a big instrumental part on me being more like in front of the camera versus just having a Facebook page, which is what I was always used to having. And it kind of happened accidentally because I remember one day I get a call from Joey and Mark, and you guys were doing a show called The Booth Brothers, and you guys were asking for some feedback on the show. And anyone who knows me knows I'm going to be honest with them for better or worse. And my delivery may be a little brash sometimes, but I mean well. And anyway, so Mark and Joey asked me a bunch of questions about the show, and I'm giving them my feedback on it. And then like a day goes by, and I don't remember if it was you, Mark, or if it was Joey, but you guys were like, "Hey, man, I thought yesterday's meeting was great, and you're right, man. We'd love to have you on the show and join us." And I was like, say that again in my head, because I said in my head I'm thinking that's not what I told you guys at all. That wasn't my
No.
intention. And but uh I like adventures. I like jumping in blind and just figuring out my way. So by me not saying no, all these however long we've been doing this now, and it's kind of just become what it is. So yeah, and I have a good time with it. You're right, Mark. I could barely turn on the light switch when we started, and now I'm having to set up graphics and coordinate times and all kinds of fun stuff. You guys know my joys and my pains of doing all that stuff. So
Yeah, we were a bit worried about the light situation because no one saw you for the first three shows, but finally you got to turn that light on.
yeah, yeah.
But no, look, all jokes aside, mate, you really have taken this seriously. I mean, you're traveling all over now. You're going to all the different events, and guys like me, I love all that. Of course, I'm doing the same thing, but in a different kind of area of the game. My concentration is more on commentary, as you know. How would you describe your role in the industry? And what is Molina Mike? What is your role in this great sport?
I don't know. It seems like I've transitioned to being more like official media more than just a shit stir or someone just kind of uh I don't know, maybe being more unprofessional. I remember going to the events, and I don't even know which one was my first one because I was always going to, decent tournaments and things just because I enjoyed it. I enjoy watching the competition. I enjoy watching top level pros play. But there's a void, I feel like, because the coverage of pool events is very the one table and this is what you get, and we're going to keep it very limited. And, it's kind of in the Stone Ages in a lot of regards. But, as you know, Mark, there's, 15 tables going on at a given time. And, there's great matches going on all across the venue. And I was always that guy when I was growing up, my early 20s, when I first fell in love with the sport, where I would stay up at 4 a.m. and try to watch, China Opens or watch World Championships in Qatar. And back then, there wasn't, 30 Facebook groups you could follow to get links and things. I had to go digging online, Google searches and Google translators, and I'd find one person that I saw out of Taiwan that made a post in English. So I'd use Google Translator to ask them for the link to watch this stream or that stream. Women's World 9-Ball Championships, the last Women's World 10-Ball Championships that Rublin won in 2012. I can remember sitting up at 4 a.m. watching it, and that was kind of the passion that I had. And then it just kind of transitioned into, I'm going to do what I want to do, but I'm going to post it on my Facebook page. And I didn't even have a Facebook. Excuse me, guys. This is my daughter. She's my youngest.
Hey,
She loves,
she's
she
got
knows,
she's got a lot more hair than you, mate.
she does. Yeah. She gets it from her mother. So baby. But she, yeah. And it just kind of, when I finally got on social media, because I wasn't on there for the longest time, I decided, well, when I go somewhere, when I find a link to a tournament or whatever, I'm just going to post it on there. And then my page kind of became, where you can get information from. And then it's kind of just evolved over into breaking news, breaking matches, giving coverage of events. And then I started traveling to events. But it was all on my own dime, because I don't like asking for help or a handout or anything. I'm real stubborn. Anyone who knows me knows that. And, but I like it that way because I don't have to answer to anyone. I'm not under anyone's thumb, and it's been different, going and doing more professional stuff, because now I'm meeting the people that I would have opinions about, and that can be a little awkward sometimes. But I've seemed to get more respect than I've gotten enemies, which is great, and I appreciate that. But I try to just stay true to who I am. It's gotten me this far. But it's scary at times because there's no, I don't get a check every 2 weeks. I just kind of figured out as I go, and, got a family to support, and, just have a passion. So, but I wouldn't have it any other way though.
Sorry, mate. Sorry
No,
to
you're fine.
butt in here, but yeah, it just reminded me of the first time we actually met for real, which was in Las Vegas, of course. And I call you the pool insider because what I feel you bring to the pool party, let's call it, is you let other people know what's going on that they don't necessarily get to see. And that's what I love. And that's how I describe my commentary when I'm in the booth. I like to point out things. I like to try and make the viewer bring them into the arena with us so that they get much more information. So I like to think of you as like the pool insider. And I can remember talking to Joey Ryan that was the reason we wanted you on the show to do that. It started out as a little segment, a 15-minute segment or something, and then it became, you took over. You were the head booth brother in the end. You nicked my job, but no, I'm joking. But you know what I mean, and that's what I love about you. You are real. You do say how it is. I think you're still a little bit scared of Emily Frazer when it comes to Emily. I'm not sure yeah,
a little bit,
a little bit. But then I think everyone is a little bit, isn't she? She's got that little thing about her where she's still got that little bit of no, keep distance.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Lord knows I pissed off a lot of people over the years, and Emily's definitely in that category. I remember the first time when I got a phone call from her years ago, when all I had was just my Facebook page, and, I had maybe, I don't know, 6,000 followers on there. And I posted some news about Bergman joining the Mosconi Cup team when he was not in contention at all. And this is like right after the International Open. And I get a phone call on Facebook Messenger, and it's Emily Frazer. And I'm thinking, man, this could go really, really good, or it could go really, really bad. But I had to know. I had to find out, because it would have just ate at me. And I was in the DMV on the East Coast, the Washington, D.C. area. And Shane and Dennis were playing their first time they played big table 10 ball. And it was, dubbed as the match of the century, because that's the game everybody wanted to see leading up to it. Shane steamrolls him, but it was like the morning of the second day or something. I'll never forget it. I was at my buddy's apartment, and then she rings, and she chewed my ass out. Who the hell do you think you are, putting things on Facebook about, one of our events and blah blah blah, and who did you find that out from, and give me who it was, because players are under contract and not supposed to tell people things. And I didn't. We went back and forth for maybe like 20 minutes, and I wouldn't give up my source. I wouldn't sell anybody out. Years later, I think she knew that she could trust me, and she respected me for standing my ground with her. But at the time, I was scared to death, man. That lady's frightening.
Well, I'm going to remind you
Yeah.
of something. The first time that we met online, when we did the interview, I said, "Look, we've got Emily Frazer coming on tonight," and you said, "Oh no, she doesn't like me," and it was really awkward before we went live. Do you remember that moment?
Of course I do, because I was scared to death, and you guys schedule it. But it's kind of like how, when that misunderstanding happened, how all this happened, because I just said, okay, I'm gonna do it anyway. I was scared, I was nervous, but I said I'm gonna jump in no matter what, because we're just gonna make the best of it. And I don't want to wonder what if when I'm done with all this. I'm gonna just give it my best shot. And so we're doing all of our prep, like me and you guys were a few minutes ago, checking audio, is everything fine? And we're on there for like maybe 10 minutes. Joey's doing his thing. Back then I didn't do any tech things, so I'm just sitting my ass there. And so Joey's about done, and he says, okay, we're about to go live in about 2 minutes. Okay, great. And she's been doing this number here, like, for the last 8 minutes or so. And then as Joey says, you got 2 minutes to go, she looks up and she says, and I'll never forget it, she goes, Molina Mike, are you the one who's been talking all that shit about us on Facebook for the last couple of years? And I'm like, and then it's like 3, 2, 1, we're live, and I'm just, like a deer in headlights, and yeah, and now years later, there's the press pass for the Mosconi Cup, wherever it is around here. There it is, right there, right above me. So it's been an interesting ride. It's been hard to get respect from people, but like I said, I try to just be who I am, and either you're gonna love me or hate me, but I'm not gonna fold or bend. I'm gonna be me no matter what. And I've always said this, like, no matter what I do, whether I'm making a post on Facebook or I'm interviewing someone, I think I'm a tough sell, right? Like, I think that I'm hard to keep engaged, and I feel like if it's something that can keep my attention, then I'm hoping other people will vibe off of it as well. That's my goal, because I feel like I'm the one that picks up where I think that's a little awkward, that's a little uncomfortable, that shouldn't be like that, And I'm not there to like critique anyone, but I'm just saying, like, when I do things, if I can keep myself engaged in that conversation, I don't want to know that it's an hour long. Like, if it feels an hour, that's rough. But like, if I'm flying by and then it's like, oh, we're at 55 minutes, that's great, because then I think we did a good job.
We're 2 minutes in at the moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been interesting.
Mike, I want you to imagine for a second that you've been given the role of head of the pool industry. You determine what the tables we use, what size pockets we use, what balls we use, what races, winner breaks. You are given carte blanche now to do whatever you want with the game of pool. So you are now, it's at the MMPA, the Molina Mike, you're the head of the Pool Association. It's the MMPA. So what's your game? What's the break rules? What's the triangle? Is it a template? Go ahead.
Oh boy, you're trying to make me piss some people off here, buddy. It's a very touchy subject in the industry right now, because you have two heads that are on opposite sides that are proud of their accomplishments, I feel like, and they don't want to budge. But they also need players to buy in as well. For my own my personal thing is one thing, but what I feel like the sport needs is different in my eyes.
Give us both. Tell us both.
Well, like I'm a one pocket guy. Rotation's a bit tough for me, so that's my preferred game. Like I love the chess match of it, but it's not made for TV. Like you have to be a real pool sicko to appreciate it. You know, you have to appreciate those nuances and be able to watch for quite a bit of time. But it's not, you know, you can't box it in and serve it as a happy meal on your way to the drive-through. Like you have to be committed to being there for hours to watch it, right? And most people just don't have that kind of passion or appreciation for it. And I get that, you know, to each their own. Now, when it comes to rotation, I don't want to see templates. I don't want to see pros figure it out. I like the inconsistency of a triangle rack. You know, I've talked to Federer a few times, and I've asked him point blank, and he says, you know, if I'm gonna get slugged or cheated, I got just as much chance as getting that by the referee as someone else. You know, so make it an even playing field. And the context of it was having you being able to rack for your own or your opponent being able to rack for you. So I like the randomness that you get from a triangle rack. You know, for my money, you seeing a lot of the slug racks on Predator events is a bit rough. You know, that can be difficult to watch, and you hear it, you see it, you know, you're in the booth, Mark, you hear the whack of the balls when it's pure and things are touching or close to touching, and then you see and you hear when it's bad, and it can be real bad sometimes, and that can be tough to swallow, especially when you're playing weighted races to 4, because you know each it's not like a race to 9 where you can fade it, right? One game isn't going to be, you know, 25% of that particular set. So um I think that's a bit of a struggle for me. These new break formats when it comes to Matchroom, I I do like them. I think pros are starting to figure it out, and their timing and what they're hoping to achieve is getting better, and I think it'll continue to get better. But it'll also create what we've been trying to avoid for the last few years, which is them controlling all these balls, right? Um, I don't know where that middle ground is, Mark, and I'm not saying it to like appease Predator or appease Matchroom. But what I will say is I wish they figured out a way to resolve their differences and work together on some level. I don't think it'll happen. But I think there's a middle ground. And for as much as I can appreciate Matchroom's consistency, I love Predator's outside the box thinking. And like when it comes to the teams, when it comes to bringing back the women's events, like the World Championships, because like I mentioned early on, I grew up watching that, man. You know, so uh, but
Yeah.
I think they gotta get feedback from the players too, because I think there's something special there with the spot shot. I don't think players want to do that shit, but there's a balance there. It'll take a little bit more time, communication, and not being stubbornness. If not being stubborn.
Yeah, I think really my question was more aimed at, you know, what Predator are doing is something completely different to what Matchroom are doing, in my
Right.
opinion. Apart from the World Championships, of course, because they've got their format and that's it. The WPA rules. I more meant for, you know, for the longer races, like the races to 9 and stuff that Matchroom are doing on the 9 ball. Let's not forget they only do 9 ball. So Predator are offering the 10 ball and the 8 ball now
Yeah.
that we do, and
I
the
love the eight
Junior
ball.
World Championships. Yeah. So my real question to you is not about who's doing that and who's doing that, that just a generalization of not necessarily the race, but the size of pockets, the colored
Oh,
balls,
okay, I got you.
the break format. Should it be winner breaks or alternate break? That's what I'm really getting. That's what I'd love to know from you.
I I like the winter break because you get special things that can happen, you know. But I'm also a fan of tennis, so it's like I like, you know, all, you know, switching serves as well. So it's kind of weird. But for pool, I do appreciate the winter break because you're never buried. All you got to do is get a chance, and you can have. I like seeing guys put on a clinic. As far as pocket size for professionals, you know, 4 and 1/8 at the most. I think that's where it needs to be at. Balls, it's kind of, you know, flip the coin. You know, Airmyth produces Predator Arcos too, so it makes no difference to me. They're both going to play the same. Um, you know, as far as the purple ball or the orange ball or whatever it is, hey, look, man, it creates a couple of beautiful moments depending on which side you're on. I like the drama of the sports. So whatever you want to do is fine with me. As far as the tables go, you know, it seems like Diamond's just kind of been that standard over the years. I think pros appreciate it. I know Predators trying to do their thing. Um, I still think it needs some fine tuning and can get there, but you can't argue with, like even the Derby City where we're going, it's going to be a room full of diamonds. So, yeah, but definitely on the big table for sure. When it comes to pros, tight pockets, let's get the drama, Mark. I don't want to see run out fest. I don't want to,
No, I don't.
I don't want every shot to be automatic. I want every shot to be like you got to bear down. You have to focus. Let's see who the
I
best
think
player is.
I think that the break that they're using now, it was used back in, I think it was used back in 2013. Somebody told me, first of all, for the break box. I think that has meant so much more excitement. I love it. We're seeing more and more now of every aspect of the game. We're seeing lots of great safeties. Yes. We're seeing great kicking. We're seeing great jumping. It's allowing us to appreciate every little finesse part of this great game. And as you say, just the one on the spot, the template rack, pros running rack after rack after rack. I mean, it's boring. It is. It's absolutely boring. And for a commentator, that break is just absolutely fantastic. I love it. I really, really do love the break box because, okay, they can figure it out. But as we saw at Turning Stone, Jason, there's still the scratches going on. It's not quite as easy to control all the balls. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, you still have guys who are going to be doing their own thing. I think Turning Stone was 1 on the spot versus what Matchem's doing, which is 9 on the spot. I wish there was more consistency. It's going to take, promoters jumping on board with it. And one thing that I'll tell you, Mark, is everything you just talked about, I love. And Predator's media team has done a great job as far as capturing the beauty of those moments in their post over the last, 6 months plus. Because you see a lot more of the jumping, the 2-row kicking, 3-row kicking, whatever it is, the safety play. And you get that because of the rack. Because if it was a template playing 10 ball, it's going to be a run out fest where you're going to have the 4-railer threatening, the side balls are going to go towards the bottom pocket. You're going to have the 1 ball tracking towards the bottom left, and it'll be boring 10 ball like we've seen over the course of, 20 plus years, which I do not have any interest in watching whatsoever. So, there's some mad scientist stuff there that I can certainly love. But yeah, no, I like the randomness too, man. I'm with you. I want to see who the overall best player is within rotation, but then you still get the slimness of it's still a 9-ball rack or it's still a 10-ball rack. So it's not going to take a 2-hour game like you get in one pocket, or like it can be anyway. Yeah.
But that leads me nicely. What I did on Facebook a couple of weeks ago when I knew that we were going to have this interview, I asked some viewers to send in a few questions if they had any, and I'm sure you know Nate Tam. I mean, you're just talking. You really do talk like a good player. You obviously know your stuff, right? And he wants to know. Nate Tam was asking, tell us about your experience as a player. We know your favourite game, but do you play very much? Did you play? Have you retired?
I think you got to be able to put a cue together in order to retire. No, I locally I have, and I still do, and I'll probably go hit some balls whenever I get out of here. We know the joys of pool, and you don't have these kind of afflictions if you haven't missed the ball, or you can't appreciate the greatness of watching pro pool if you don't know how tough it is. I feel like, and Lord knows I know how to hit them into the rail. I got 4 girls, so I've never been able to play professionally or semi-professionally. I enjoy playing the game. I'll play whatever game there is really, but obviously I prefer one pocket. But no, I've never threatened anything. I don't really, play any decent events. And even now, like, Mark, when we saw you in Vegas, man, how many pool tables are in that venue, Mark, at the Rio?
I mean, 320.
I'll be lucky, Mark, if I'm hitting like 3 racks over 10 days, because we're there to cover this.
Hang on. No, I'm going to pull you up here. You was on that table next to your booth at the Rio.
Well, maybe this last time in between here or there, we'd knock them around, but it wouldn't last for very long, and it wasn't serious, right? We're just banging them around.
Okay, let's go back to the year before then. When we first met, you were playing on the Salotto table all the time. Do you remember that?
What time was that at, Mark? That was like at midnight, wasn't it? Right? That was. I mean, listen, on the bar table, and I think the bar table is the equalizer for a lot of people. On the bar table, I can give him hell a little bit. Hell, me and you played on the TV table at Derby City. When was it? Last year,
Yeah.
Mark, or the year before?
Last year, yes.
With and actually we got a game this year. I talked to Matt and Heath, and we're gonna play again sometime whenever we're out there. So I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, I know how to miss balls, so I can I can appreciate what should be done or shouldn't be done. But no, I'm not a great player by any means. I don't claim to be, and um I got an eye for it, I feel like, and a passion for it, and I hope my delivery is as good as it can be. There's always going to be room for improvement, but I try to keep it like positive as best I can when we talk about the game. But I'm gonna try to call a spade too if I see that as well. So,
Well,
um,
somebody else that calls a spade, Del Sim. I know you know Del Sim.
Oh yeah, the
Now,
skyscraper. That's my man.
well, that leads me beautifully into this question, and I promise you guys, we haven't discussed what we're going to talk about
None.
whatsoever. And Del Sim asks, "What's it like being an influencer under 5'5"?"
On a good day, if I'm wearing my steel toe boots, I think I'm 5'5". Yeah, no, hey, listen, as long as the camera angle works, right, then I look like I got some height to me here. So, but it's funny, we were at the expo, I think it was this past year, and you can't miss Dell. If you've ever met Dell, you know how tall he is. I mean, the guy is massive. Anyway, I see Dell like swimming through the crowd, right? And he walks up and he's about to take a selfie, right? So of course you got to get the angle right when when you got a guy of my size and a guy of his size. So you got to be like here, right? And I said, Dell, it'd be pretty funny if you just got from like here up, right? So like maybe like from here up. So I said, take the picture like this. So all you see is like Dell's shoulder here and like my eyes, but it was beautiful. We didn't have to try too hard.
Was
It
that
just shows
you? Was
that was
that
me.
you started it? Wow,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
brilliant.
yeah,
No,
yeah,
that's,
yeah. It got a lot of laughs, but if you can't make fun of yourself, then what else do you got, man?
that's what I love about what you do. I know I love laughing at myself, and I think it's a quality that you need to have in this particular business. Stephen Fair has a question for you. He says, "Where's his $40?"
Oh, that guy's a real piece of work. Let me tell you, that guy. I've heard more stories about that guy from a number of different people across the industry. Steven and I made a few wagers. He got paid off what he was owed, and then he went off like the beautiful human being that he is. And yeah, if you, I'll be at Derby, Steven, if you want to collect, or I'll be at the Expo if you'd like to collect, or maybe at the U.S. Open, maybe at the Mosconi Cup. I'll be around at a few different places. I'll
I
shoot you
didn't.
myself if you need it.
I didn't realize it was. I didn't realize it was going to cause a little stir, but I'm glad it did. We
No,
need
no,
a
no.
bit
I
of
listen.
fun.
I don't mind a little stir, Mark. We're good.
Uh, Gord Kerr from Canada asks, "What's been your most inspiring moment in pool? What's been a moment where it's really gone wow? What makes Molina Mike go wow?"
I still appreciate majors. I can remember um, being at the World 10 Ball Championship, as a matter of fact, thanks to Predator. Because I've always appreciated the like sacredness, if you will, of being a world champion. I think that term got tossed around very loosely among describing players for a very, very, very long time. And there's not a lot of world championships. I mean, a lot of world champions rather. It's a very select club, and it's coveted. And it always just rubbed me the wrong way. So I can appreciate that first year when I was in Vegas and I went out there and I didn't do anything. I just went to go watch and appreciate. I think I maybe have streamed a couple of matches with my iPhone and a tripod, but that was the extent of it. But I love watching world champions being crowned. I still do. I still will appreciate a good final, and like seeing Wojciech this year win one, seeing Kachi win his World 10 ball was something special. I was here at home because I didn't get to go to the UK when Shane won his World Championship. But I still got like emotional because I remember all these years talking about Shane can never win the big one, or Shane can't win an event overseas, and Shane is not a world champion, and Shane was not a world champion until last year. Even as great as he is, but it's great to see him get there, and I'm still a fan at the end of the day. So all those moments I can remember very vividly and specifically, and just like I can watching, you know, Rubelin win hers or watching Kelly win her world championship all those years ago on the internet at, you know, some obscure time at night that I should have never been up at. So, yeah.
You mentioned you got 4 daughters earlier on. Do any of those show any interest in pool? Is there a young little pool player there in your family, do you think, or not? Or would you steer them away from it? You know so much about the industry. Is it something you would encourage your own daughters to do if they show great talent?
You know, I'd want them to be who they want to be. They obviously like hanging out with their dad, and they know what I do. And if I'm home watching pool and they want to hang out with me watching pool, by all means. There's a family friendly pool room here in town where my youngest, especially the one who just came in, she goes with me quite a bit, and you know she'll be there watching YouTube for the most part on dad's phone. That's probably the only time where I'm not on my phone all the time. But I catch her every now and then just sitting down and watching, and you know if they ever decide they want to play, I'll gladly accommodate them. And I've taken my other daughter Jaslyn to I think it was when Federer played Jeff DeLuna in Dallas, maybe it was last year, maybe during the pandemic, maybe 2 years ago. And the hotel was really close by, and it was a family friendly pool room as well. And we're sitting there, and Christina's, you know, next to us, and she said, "Dad, who's that? You know, is that his girlfriend?" And I said, "Yeah, but she's a great player in her own right." And her eyes just lit up, and she said, "Girls play pool, Dad?" And I said, "Yeah, and girls play pool pretty good too, baby." You know, so um, I love seeing their eyes open up and their eyes, you know, have stars in them. And but whatever they want to do, I'm going to support them and I'm going to love them. And I'm going to be there cheering them on. I'm going to, you know, give them advice if I can give it, and if not, then we'll hire someone who can. So, but no, let them chase their dreams, man. I'm living my dream, so I'm not going to tell them what they should or shouldn't be. I'm going to hope they are productive and can stay busy. That's the main thing. So,
Yeah, you've led me nicely into anyone who think we've rehearsed this, mate. You've led me nicely into, there's this, I would call it quite a big divide at the moment between American and, shall we say, the rest of the world, not even just European. Let's keep it Europe and the US. Okay. So what do you think is the big difference? Why are we seeing the big divide that we're seeing at the moment?
from a playability standpoint, I'm assuming, right? Like from a talent standpoint.
Sorry?
Yeah, you mean from like a talent standpoint, from like Americans and other?
Just, yeah, really just what you think the difference is, whether it's a coaching thing, whether it's a dedication thing, hard work, or we just have a different approach in Europe than you do in the States. How do you think, what do you think is the main reason for the divide?
Yeah, I think coaching is a big part of it. You know, I know top Taiwanese players who have coaches. I know a lot of top Europeans who have coaches, and that's foreign over here. You don't see very many players who have coaches. You know, I remember there was a picture just the other day of, you know, Federer flying in Johan to still give him coaching and lessons, right? That's Federer who won almost every, you know, I think 3 out of 5 events at Derby City last year. He's arguably, you know, at a minimum, a top 3 player in the world, and some may say he's the best player on earth. And he's dominates most things that he in. If not, he's at least playing on the final day, if nothing else, right? Um, and yet he's still getting coaching, right? And then you have guys who are here in the States who just don't. And whatever their work ethic is like, and I remember talking with Pagulayan about this. He said, it's not about practicing and just going and hitting balls. It's about practicing with purpose, right? So the way that you're getting to where you think you want to be is super important. It's not just hitting balls. It's hitting balls to have goals and accomplishments. And there's something going on where it's very, very different, and it shows from a talent standpoint. I think there's a lot of American players who can play really well and who can give anyone hell when it comes to tournaments. But I also think there's a big reason why you're seeing European domination. I think those guys handle it as being more athletes and approach it as much. I'm not saying all of them, but a big portion of them do. Um, and the Americans, I think you can be at the pool hall all day long and can hit balls all day long, but not progress where maybe you can if you really stepped up your game. So, um, But you
Yeah, I
gotta
think
you gotta want it. And I think it's like a cultural thing too, Mark, you know.
yeah, I think we saw at the Turning Stone just recently. I mean, Sky Woodward was just playing. I think you may disagree with this, but I think he's playing the best out of any Americans at the moment. And his, you can see he's been on that Rasson. You can see he's been on that practice table for hours and hours and hours. And I noticed something in his technique, which he's changed. I mean, I watch technique being a snooker coach. You know, I've been into coaching since 1984, and I'm not necessarily watching the shots all the time. I'm watching their stance and how they're cueing and whether they've got a pause. And Skylar has definitely introduced that little pause into his backswing, and it makes such a difference to him. I mean, I thought he played absolutely fantastic. He was so, you know, anyone other than Jason Shaw, I think, would have crumbled under the pressure that Sky put on him. And I haven't seen that in a long while. Somebody really pressure, not even Federer. Let's not lose sight of the fact Jason beat Federer twice in that tournament, right?
Came back on Federer too, because Federer, I think, was up late in the first time they met, and ends up winning a hill match where he was behind late in that event. So
Absolutely.
yeah, one thing that people don't, maybe they appreciate, maybe they don't, I don't know, but what's really remarkable about what Sky is doing is that he just changed equipment. And you can go ask Jason how tough it is to change equipment. You know, all those years that Jason was with Michi, and he was dominating everything. You know, him and Dennis were like here and here and here, right, as far as winning events. And then when Jason switched over to Perry, it took time, like a few years, for him to find his stroke back the way that he had it beforehand. So for Sky to change cues going from Michi over to Q-Tech, but then still have, you know, that execution that he's having right now, just really shows what a great talent that he is. You know, I don't think we've seen the best of him. I think his work ethic isn't necessarily the best, you know, but he's kind of a phenom, you know, and it works for him. And it's hard to argue with him or say, maybe you ought to try this or that, because look at the successes that he's having, right? And we all know what kind of talent that he has.
I could be wrong saying this. I don't think I am, but I could be wrong. I think he has been putting in a lot more practice just recently. I mean, it shows. I mean, he's super talented. I think he's without doubt your most talented player at the moment. I mean, he just thinks of shots. Look at him at the Mosconi Cup. You know, that his kicking ability and the 9-ball caroms that he makes and the combos. He's just got a great, fantastic brain, you know. And they always say talent without hard work is wasted. And I believe he is one. He's not the only one. We've got Tyler Steyer, who's obviously working very, very hard now, amongst others. I know Shane works very, very hard as well. Shane may be coming to the end of his time, but I certainly think Sky at the moment is playing the best pool out of any Americans, I think.
I think you're right. I do. You know, I think that he still has to get majors though, because we still measure these guys based off of hardware. I feel like, you know, from a talent standpoint, I think you're right though. Just from, you know, what he can do on the table. But we had this conversation, I think it was just last night on the show. It's like Shane just won a world championship, so it's hard to really say that Sky is formally better, but he's definitely got the most upside. You know, I want to see him win more though. I do. But, you know, and just on the note of him at the Mosconi Cup, those shots that he played were beautiful. There was a couple of combo safes where he's protecting the cue ball along with playing a bank shot. Or, I mean, if you appreciate pool, the mind, that was the biggest thing that you mentioned there. It's having the vision to see it, right? The creativity to execute it, and then being able to handle the pressure along with that in those moments with, you know, 3,000 people watching and the rest of the people watching at home, and then to still do it. I mean, it was just remarkable. There was I think it was a bank combo on the 9-ball, and then he still protected the cue ball behind the other ball. And it was just, if you appreciate great pool, you just know. I mean, the 9-ball was great. Don't get me wrong. Like, he made it in, it was wonderful. But for me, it was, he still protected that cue ball. So even if he misses, the guy was going to be in dead jail no matter what. And to have that vision to do it, you know, Sky's a great player to watch, man. That's why that's why he gets a lot of respect. That's why he's got a lot of fans, no matter which side of the pond you're on. He's a special player and dynamic. The guy's made for TV too. Great personality as well.
he's 100% my favourite American player. I mean, for all those reasons that you just said. I mean, he's super talented.
Yeah.
He is. He's got every single shot in the book, and as you say, he's very smart as well, which is so important if you're going to win tournaments. Now, I did an interview with Jay Garrison on Level 2 Billiards a couple of weeks ago, and he asked me to predict stars. Obviously, we had Sanchez Ruiz last year. He just had a fantastic year, won loads of stuff, didn't he? Right, 8 ball,
Everything.
doubles, US Open, won all the big things, right? I honestly think that this is Sky's year to win a major, and I also said he would have at least 4 high finishes of like semi-finals or higher. And first out of the traps, the first tournament, the turning stone reaches the final, and let's forget he didn't lose a single match until that final.
Yep.
Yeah, I think he's definitely in that same class as, the Jasons and the elite players of the world. But those majors are eluding him. Those titles are eluding him. He's won Derby City before, and he's got to get some more stuff on that mantle before you can really just, get your elbows out and feel comfortable amongst those players. It's funny you mentioned that because Joey actually picked Sky as well to kind of be that breakout star for this year. He's got that upside. He's got that ability. We can show he can execute under no matter any conditions. So I'm hoping so, because I think, American pool is in a really unique spot right now with all the attention that's been on it. And a guy like Sky can move the needle for non-pool audience just as much as he can within, the sickos like you and I. So
Yeah, and he's got that fantastic personality. He's so likable. He's so friendly. He's personable. He's just got that. He is, as we just said, the whole package. And to be a world champion, that's exactly what you need, I think. Right. So we all listen to Dogging It. We love that show. You and Joey and another Mike. What's his name?
Panozo.
Panozzo, that's it.
Yeah.
Panozzo. I always call him Pinocchio because he lies so much. I'm only joking.
I like it. I like it.
Pinocchio. Just joking. Yeah. So to go back to you personally as a guy, what's your favourite thing outside pool?
Oh, that's an interesting. Spending time with my daughters. That's the main thing. Trying to. I do this a lot. It can be very time consuming doing the number of different things that I do within pool. I help a friend of mine build jump cues, raffling stuff off, like finding things to buy, you name it. I mean, it's not a 9 to 5 kind of job by any means. And then even when you schedule someone, graphics, go ahead, Mark. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say you're such a good looking guy. Nobody knows you're only 5'5" sitting down. You often talk about your girls, but what I want everyone to know out there in the world is Mike is actually taken. When he talks about his girls, you have got another woman in your life as well, of course. Could you?
Well,
not just your daughters.
My daughters take up more than enough time for me, and they definitely fill up my love tank for me. And as much as they can frustrate me like no other, they can also make me smile like no other. I work as hard as I do and travel a lot, and it's hard because I don't get to always see them or talk to them every day whenever I'm gone, but I make sure that when I get home, we're gonna make some memories. I'm gonna carve out some time to do fun activities with them. And just not things that I want to do with them, but things that they want to do that I can enjoy with them. And they're actually at a really great age because Madeline's my youngest, and now she's super chill. She's not a baby anymore.
How old are they, Mike? How old are they, your children?
Oh, don't put me on the spot here.
Oh,
so
no.
okay, let me see. Madeline's 3, Juliana's like 6 or 7, Jasline's 9 or 10. And then I'm in the range at least. And then my oldest Ileana, she is 12, I want to say.
So, can't believe I got Molina Mike sweating.
Yeah, listen, my girls make me sweat like nobody else on this earth can. But yeah, no, I'm not a hard guy to find. I'm usually on my phone, when I'm working, or on this thing right here, my computer. And when I'm not, I'm either out at an event or, like I said, helping a buddy of mine build queues. And yeah, coordinating, the logistics of it, the rubbing elbows and messages and putting in the work, and it's very time consuming. Also doing some business with people overseas, so it's like I got to get up at funky hours sometimes. Not as much, now, but it has been in years past. But yeah, if I'm not there when I'm home, I'll go hang out at the pool room for a couple hours here or there, and then make sure to come back home and make dinner for the girls. And it was great. My Juliana, she just went back to school today, but I was just telling someone this a few hours ago, but we really bonded over Christmas break, and I'm teaching her how to cook, and she tied her shoes, and we did that, me and her, over the last few days. And yesterday we were at Office Depot waiting on some flyers, and I said, "Hey, your shoes are holding up pretty good." And she said, "Dad, I just tied them." And I said, "You did it by yourself." And she had this real genuine smile and high five, and it's bringing me to tears now that I'm fighting off, but it did then too, and I'm really proud of her. And it's those little things that I don't want to take for granted when it comes to my girls. And everyone says, like, they'll grow up so fast. Now they're at a great age where, like, I'm not babysitting my kids, I'm hanging out with them. And I can enjoy their personalities, I can enjoy who they are, and I love them, and they're important to me.
Well, let's hope she teaches you how to tie your shoes. Actually,
I'll wear sandals.
if I didn't know better, Mike, I would think you've hacked into my computer, because you just brought up food. And the next thing that I wanted to ask you about is, what does Molina Mike eat to keep that lovely slim figure that you've got? So what's your favourite food, mate?
Well, I tell you, I put on a few pounds over the Christmas break, but I've been really focusing on my health. I'm not getting any younger. And fitness has become a real important part of my life. If I'm home, I'm usually at the gym like 5 days a week. If I'm out in an event, like when I go to Derby, it's a really cold, horrible gym they got there, but I'll still go out there and exercise, and I'll try to do it at least 3 times a week. And then I don't know, man, my diet just fluctuates. If I'm doing my meal prep, then it's terrible, but I feel great because I get a lot of energy even though I eat more. It's like smaller portions and healthier food. But I got 4 girls and I work a lot, and it's not always the most convenient thing on earth to meal prep. So yeah, my diet hasn't been so good lately. Yeah.
So what's next for Molina Mike? I mean, where are you off to next, Mike?
Uh Derby City, with Oscar. Go hang out there for probably a week. I think fly out on the 23rd, if I'm not mistaken. Just booked my flight yesterday. And then probably Vegas. Mark, I'll see you out there. I'm looking forward to seeing another world championship, and the Rio and the CSI event is just, I don't think anything beats it for my money. Obviously I didn't get to go to Puerto Rico, so I can't compare it to that. But everything else in pool, that event is something special. It's a real amazing atmosphere from an amateur standpoint to appreciating professionals. I think it does a great job of getting more people interested in the pro game, having it side by side. And there's no other event that does that like that. Because even if you go like to Philadelphia for the Super Billiards Expo, they got the pros in one area and the amateurs in the other, and you got to pay to get in, and it's completely closed off. And you don't get that vibe from Predator and CSI at all. It's a fun experience. And it's not even because it's in Vegas. It's just what Ozzy and Karim and that entire team behind both of them have created out there, because it's unique and there's nothing else like it, on earth.
Yeah, there's already talk about actually doubling the size of Puerto Rico event. They want that to be like the Caribbean type expo to rival, because it's such a beautiful island, Mike. It's such easy access to get there for you guys as well. And it really is, the more events that they're going to add. I mean, they're adding the world teams there this year. It was in Austria last year when the Philippines won it, of course. This year, the teams is going to be there to replace the 8-ball, which is moved to Japan. So I really do think there's some great things happening in the sport at the moment. And I do only want to really concentrate on the positive side. Of course, there's any sport that you go into is always going to have its, shall we say, slightly less tasteful side. But I love what you do because it's not too in your face. I know what you do, and I love it. You love your money matches, and there's nothing wrong with money matches in my opinion. Do you think that is good for the industry, or do you think it's better if there's more people chasing trophies, like Josh Filler, for example? He'd rather play for a trophy than money, shall we say? Or is there a place for both?
I think there's a place for both, I feel like. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what that magic thing is as far as like should be more of this or less of that. I think the more that people are talking about it and are excited about it, the better for everyone, right? Because the more inclined they may be to go to Puerto Rico, right? With the amazing coverage you guys had last year, it'll be a staple for people to want to attend. Just like if it's a match that's built up with a lot of drama and trash talking or whatever, and people may go and fly out to that venue and patron that bar and and boost that economy and that pool rooms owners economy, so but yeah, I don't know. I don't think you're ever going to get away from people playing one-on-one. But I watch a lot of sports. Hardware means a lot, trophies mean a lot. There's plenty of great players who don't have world championships or a Super Bowl or a World Series or you name the sport, right? And so I definitely love and can appreciate that part of it as well. So yeah, there's a balance to be had, I feel like. And I just love that there's a lot of options for players right now, but it's a really interesting time for it because it's, yeah, from a schedule standpoint, it's gonna be brutal this year.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Yeah, but
I've just literally released a video today, and I've just gone through it's basically about what I'm up to in 2023, and it's just absolutely crazy. And I'm not even going to all the smaller events. I mean, you're going to go, I'm sure. Well, you're going to Derby City. I'm not going to be there this year. I'm off to Canada after the women's. Hello. Give us a wave. Look at that hair. She's got lovely hair. No. She's thinking, who's that strange man there?
Yeah. She's like, that's not Joey.
No. So actually, her hair reminds me of Joey's son's hair in a way.
Yeah.
Mika.
Yeah.
Is it Micah?
Yeah. Micah.
Yeah. So, Mike, I'm off to the women's 9-ball world championships in Atlantic City. I know you're not going to be there. Who's your favourite to win that?
Honestly, I had planned on going until I realized it was going to be the same time as the Derby because, just from a pure fan standpoint, seeing the resurrection of that event is phenomenal. And I love that about Predator, bringing back the 8-ball, bringing back the world teams. Like I mentioned to start off the show, I was staying up late nights and, seeing the old world teams events was amazing because you never got Scotch triples that you don't see that in any event, and I love that. Who's the favorite to win that event? We all know Kelly's class and she's been winning everything, but the Asian players are back. And I think Wei is just busted through like everyone thought she would. I remember listening to, I think it was you guys, Mark, when, or maybe it was some other commentators, but they had mentioned your name because I think you were sitting with Kelly and them. And they mentioned that Wei had never won a major. And then that kind of struck me because I just always have had her associated with winning. And then I realized that's, you guys are right.
Do you know, I've got a lovely little story connected to what you just said. I'm sitting in the audience. I'm next to Jasmine Ocean, Kelly Fisher, Ali Fisher, Christina Zlateva, and
the rough life, Mark.
I know. Yeah. And just as Weiwei's about to win it, Kelly leans over and says, you realise if she wins this, it's going to be her first major. And I said, really? So quickly, I get on my phone to Jim, who's commentating in the booth with Tim de Ruyter, right? He's commentating. I send him it. just as she's getting down on the last ball to make the last ball, and Jim comes up with that line. He's texted me that.
Beautiful.
Oh, thanks, Mark. He got the message because none of us knew that was her actual first title. Amazing, right?
Incredible. Yeah. And it was perfect timing. And I was there, I was listening to it. So, we appreciate those little nuggets, because those are important part of history and her journey. And I love that. I love seeing girls break, any guys or girls break through. And I think the dam's gonna burst for her. And I think there's more talent that's coming over more than ever before, whether it's domestic or abroad. Like I said, Kelly and Allison are just timeless. Christina Zateva, she plays phenomenal pool as well. She's been knocking like in the final, it seems like, three in that 3 to 6 range for the last 12 months or so. The Filipinos are back in Rubelin and Cheska, so I think they're always going to be a threat. I wish we saw more of the Chinese and more Taiwanese players, because there's more monsters over there that aren't making their way through, but I'm glad to see that there's more avenues for them.
Yeah,
But
you
if
got Bean Hung. You got Bean Hung, of course.
being, yeah,
You've also got oh God,
Number
how is
10.
that? Yes,
yeah,
Amber
and
Chen
yeah,
as well,
yeah.
who won the Canadian Open last year, of course. So, and she's funny you mention her, Kat, actually, because she is my outside bet for the 9-ball World Championships in Atlantic City.
Okay.
Watch her, Amber Chen. I fancy her. I don't know why, but I just fancy her to go really, really deep in this one.
I like Chow. I think she's playing great as well. I just the the cream tends to rise to the top a lot more, but it seems like it's getting a lot deeper of a cream out there when it comes to the ladies. Now they're having proper events more consistently, which I love. They're getting more coverage than ever before, and it's great coverage as well. Decent money for them. Uh, and I'm really excited. It's something really special, like I mentioned, seeing world champions being crowned. So seeing the world 9-ball come back, I was really disappointed, because it was a friend of mine was like, "Are you gonna go to Atlantic City?" And I said, "Hell yeah, I'm gonna go. At least for a few days, And and just for context, I didn't go to the U.S. Open, so that just shows I really appreciate world championships. And then they were like, "What's same time as Derby?" And I said, "Oh shit. Okay, well, never mind. I
Only
guess
one
I'm not
day.
gonna." Is
Only
it?
by one day, 19th to the 22nd. You're going on the 23rd, you said. So really, you could still make it, but I understand you've got
Listen,
family, right?
yeah, that might my girls probably won't let me live it down. Plus, as they get older, and especially my older girls, they're gonna see me there at some women's event, and they're gonna say, "Oh, you didn't take us, Dad? I want to go watch."
That
So
was my point.
yeah, they're gonna bust me. So
Look, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, and I'd love you to shout out to anyone that you'd like to, and big yourself up. You deserve to big yourself up, mate. You're always bigging other people up. Big yourself up.
oh, listen, watch everything you guys are doing. Watch all the events on whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or whatever, because there's a lot of work that goes into behind the scenes. It's not just people, plugging in a phone, or it's a lot of coordinating, it's a lot of planning, it's a lot of money, a lot of expense. I want to see great pool just like everybody else, but you got to like tune in to watch. So that's my only thing I want to tell people. And yeah, I mean, we're not always going to please everyone. I'm sure you've heard it before yourself, Mark, doing commentary, right? It can be a tough gig when you open yourself up, but being vulnerable can be a lot of fun, because you can have a lot of fun along the way. And I wouldn't trade anything I do, because it's a passion. I'm glad that people receive it well and they can appreciate it. And I'm going to keep on doing it as long as I'm able to. So, yeah.
Just to finally finish off, I know you have this great show that you do. It's called. Tell a bit about it. What dogging it actually is.
Yeah, so we do it. I wish we had a set time. Joey wishes we did, but we kind of do it whenever we have time, I guess. Sometimes it's during the day, and around this time, or sometimes excuse me, sometimes it's in the evening. But we try to just stay relevant and cover all things pool. Some things are wonderful and positive, and some things aren't, and that's just part of it. But we're gonna discuss it. We're gonna give it a stage to be talked about. We're gonna invite players on who have won things recently, and guys who are gonna be who have an eye for an event or for whatever, and just try to pick their brain some. anything that we can do to keep pool on people's minds, we're going to try to do. And I may not always be received the best, but you know, it's who we are, and yeah, we're going to keep on doing it. So
One last question, and then I'll let you go because I know you're a busy guy. If there was one person that you could interview who you haven't interviewed yet in the pool world, I'm really talking about, well, they can be somebody outside the pool world as well, but still associated with it, you know, not necessarily a player. Who would you like to get in and have a real nitty gritty chat with for an hour?
Oh, that's a
Apart
good
from me.
question, Mark. Obviously, Mark. Obviously, that was the I had to separate that. Probably Efren, I guess, would be the one,
Oh
and
my God.
we may have Efren on. I know Mike's trying to get it scheduled, so that's kind of bucket list stuff. You know, we got Jeanette Lee on recently, which was great. And that was kind of a dream because, like everyone else, you know, I watched her on ESPN's, and that was pretty special. And I had a chance to interview Barry Hearn, which was phenomenal, but I got a little starstruck when we were there, and I said, "No, Mike, you do it," because you know I'm not in that class yet. You know,
Yeah,
you
but
deserve it.
Barry Hearn is one, mate. You are, trust me. All the players, you attract all the top players and everyone in the industry because you are what you are and you do what you do. Barry Hearn is one of the easiest people. He's such a great talker, Barry
Oh,
Hearn.
let me
He's
tell you, Mark,
unbelievable.
the
Ask him
best
one question and he'll talk for a day.
exactly when you know we posted the video, and the best part was after we cut, because we kept him around for like another what should have been like 2 minutes to have him sign some of these programs that we gave away to our Patreons.
Mm-hmm.
And he stuck around, and he's so charismatic, and told, I think it was at least 2 stories, and now I'm not going to repeat them, but I'll never forget them. But he just had such a great personality, and I was just starstruck. So that part was really cool for me. I still just, you know, anybody really, you know, no one's too big or too small. We're not above anyone. We're going to talk to you like we would anybody else. And yeah, just cover the game as best we can, you know, and you know, we're open to feedback. And but yeah, I would love to interview Efren. I kind of got a little bit at Derby. The language barrier can be a little bit rough, but yeah, he's one of the greats.
Don't play him at chess or pool. That's all I'm saying.
He's
Okay,
busted a few
Mike,
people.
it's been an absolute pleasure, mate. And it's so lovely to be in this position because we started out together, basically. We were both jumped in head first to that
People,
deep swimming pool, shall we say.
I've told this story a few times, but yeah, Mark's a real big inspiration. I wouldn't be here without Mark White. And you know,
Likewise.
Mark will always be in the fabric of anything that I do on this side of it. You know, obviously we're doing my own thing beforehand, but like when it comes to being in front or talking, you know, Mark is a big part of it. And you know, I admire you, I respect you, more importantly, because like me, Mark dove in head first without any kind of safety net underneath them. And I'm real proud of all the successes that you've had, everything that you've made for yourself, because you didn't get a fucking handout from anyone. You know, you did it your way, and it can be scary. It can be really scary to not be sure of what's going to come for tomorrow, but you did it, and you're here, and I'm glad you're here, and I'm glad to call you a friend, my man.
The feeling is absolutely mutual for everything you just said. I could be saying exactly the same about you. Mike, thank you so much, my friend. Thank you, Kat, as well.
Yes,
And
thank you,
I've
guys.
heard actually that I'm going to be doing a little bit of a write-up as well, Mike, about you. So I'm looking forward to that. So I might be picking your brains over the next few days. But Mike is also going to be in the February issue of the SPM Media magazine. So we're really looking forward to that. Mike, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it. Good luck in 2023, and hopefully, well, we're going to bump into each other lots, I think. Molina Mike, influencer, insider, call him what you want. He is a big part of the pool industry. Thank you, mate.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you,
I
Mike.
appreciate it. Thank you.